What's going on, guys, and welcome to my audio review for the November 29th, 2024 edition of WWE Friday Night SmackDown, the go-home show before Survivor Series tonight. I'm Graham G. Matthews. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving and are enjoying your Survivor Series weekend. We haven't had a whole lot of SmackDown audio reviews in the past 2 months. I've kind of been on and off for the last couple of months now, but I did want to come on here and discuss the show from Friday night real quick before the pay-per-view tonight, as I thought this was a very good go-home show. And everything that we got in front of the crowd, in the ring and whatnot, was good to very good, including that main event. I thought that main event between Fatu, who made his singles debut on WWE TV on the show against Jey Uso in a WarGames Advantage match, I thought that match was great. But honestly, the two best things on this entire show were two things that were pre-taped, because this was a taped show. This was not a live show on Friday night before the pay-per-view tonight. They taped this after SmackDown last week due to the holiday, which I appreciate, gave the talent an extra day off and whatnot. You would think kind of a ho-hum show, phoned in with it being a pre-tape show, but it really wasn't. Again, I thought what we got in front of the crowd was good, but the two best parts were that Kevin Owens promo, that pre-tape promo with him addressing Cody Rhodes ahead of their Saturday night's main event match coming up in a few weeks for the undisputed WWE Championship, and the sit-down with Paul Heyman sitting down with Roman Reigns and CM Punk to kind of hash things out before they team together at WarGames tonight. And I thought those two things, as we'll get into in this review, were really, really well done. The show actually opened with a women's war game kind of hype segment, so to speak, with Rhea Ripley out there with Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Bayley. So this was taped last week after SmackDown. I guess this would have given away that Bayley was the fifth member of Team Rhea or whatever for women's war games. I don't read the spoilers. I don't pay too much attention to that sort of stuff. But this wasn't on social media the same way that, Rhea Ripley returning. I mean, I guess it wasn't that big of a deal, obviously. But, when Rhea returned on the pre-taped Raw a couple of weeks ago, people automatically, knew she was on the team, and that was, instantly on social media and on Twitter and whatnot. This was not. I actually did not see this. So I know Bayley was kind of confirmed to be. She was already announced as the fifth member of Team Rhea right after Monday's Raw when she helped Bianca beat Nia in that Raw main event. But, this was taped days before that, so I'm glad that didn't get out. But they were in the ring kind of generically talking about women's war games and whatnot. Not each of them taking turns, but Rhea spoke, and I think Bianca may have spoken, maybe Bayley, I don't remember. Maybe Naomi. I don't know if all of them spoke. I don't really remember because it really wasn't that all that memorable of a segment. Before the heels came out, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae, the WWE Women's World Champion Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez, offering their rebuttal to the baby faces in the ring. And I thought the best thing about this segment was how they not only kind of pondered the possibility of Bayley being the one who attacked Jade, because she was attacked on SmackDown last week, to take Jade's spot in the Women's War Games match, which had not been acknowledged prior to now. I mean, they had subtly hinted at it when Bayley was at, going to Jade's assistance on the show last week when Bianca got in the ambulance and Bayley was there for her. They kind of teased it then to a certain extent that Bianca did not like Bayley, which they teased a lot since WrestleMania season when Bayley first went babyface, and Bianca still did not trust Bayley after everything Bayley did to Bayley, or Bianca did to Bayley. Bayley did to Bianca, rather, in the last couple of years. But they kind of fully, flat-out teased it here, with, I think, Liv Morgan being the one saying, Bayley, we know that you really wanted that spot on the team. And they also acknowledged the possibility, not the possibility, but the history with a lot of these women. And how Bayley and Io used to be friends before they turned on each other and they had a whole WrestleMania match. They acknowledged the aforementioned history between Bianca and Bayley and how Bianca still does not like Bayley. Bayley's trying to make it up to Bianca, so on and so forth. A lot of history between all of these women. And Rhea kind of, they're trying to find common enemies in Nia, Tiffany, Candice, Liv, and Raquel. So the heels approach the ring, and they're kind of the mindset of, oh, fuck this, we can wait till tomorrow. War Games is in 24 hours, why not wait till then? So they leave, and then Rhea Ripley, not literally saying these exact words, but is like, well, fuck that, I don't want to wait, so let's just brawl now. So a big brawl ensues, and they brawl before it gets broken up. So a good final sell on the Women's War Games match tonight. I thought what we got on Raw, the actual match between Bianca and Nia was good. But nothing about what we got that closed Raw this week was overly exciting or did a great job of getting me excited for Women's War Games. A match that I still, at that point and even now, do not feel like necessitates the WarGames cages. That could have very easily been a standard, traditional, classic Survivor Series 5-on-5 tag team elimination match. That did not need to be a WarGames match. But they're doing it anyway, whatever. And I thought this was a good kind of way. It was predictable, it was expected, but I thought this was a nice way to kind of lead into it. And again, I thought the mic work from the heels specifically was good, and that it acknowledged the obvious, the elephant in the room there with Bayley and Bianca not getting along, Bayley and Io not getting along. The Bianca and Bayley stuff is the central focus. But even bigger than that is that Bayley and Io were literally feuding 6 fucking months ago. So they also acknowledged that. I can't imagine they're going to be hugging and kissing and crying tomorrow or tonight at WarGames, but they at least put that out there so people remember the history between all these women and they're not just forgetting about it. So I thought that was a solid opening segment. Our first match on the show saw Shinsuke Nakamura, who came out to new entrance music, taking on Andrade. Now, it's not entirely a new theme. It's a remix theme song. I actually did see some positive reception to the song. I think it fucking sucks. Most of the Def Rebel songs I don't either mind or they are awful, or some of them I actually like. The Nakamura remix, I mean, I know the other song kind of makes you want to cheer for him and sing along, but he had that song when he was a heel a year ago. He used that when he first turned heel. They didn't change the music. They changed the music when he first went heel back in 2018, and they added the lyrics, which was good, and I didn't mind that remix. You know, that didn't really bother me as much as this one does. It just sounds like a fucking generic remix of a song that was already far superior. And again, I know they want to change things up with the new look and the new character. It has the same, I can't even say beat. The beat is entirely different. But however they remixed it, I don't know if it sounds like dubstep or what. It sounds like it's fucking awful. I'm sorry. But he does have new music to kind of go along with the new look. He looks like Anakin from Episode 3 of Star Wars. And it's a great look. I can't imagine he'll be, even if he does win tonight, and I don't think he will, I can't imagine he would be United States champion for a very long period of time. I'd rather see Andrade with the belt or Hayes or just keep it on Knight at this point. I don't really see the need in putting it on Nakamura. But they wanted to give him one quick win before he challenges for the championship tonight at the pay-per-view, beating Andrade in a quality match. And I like that Michael Cole acknowledged that not only are they both former NXT champions and United States champions, Nakamura a former Intercontinental champion and Royal Rumble winner and Tag Team champion, he also brought up that these two men had previously fought for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship many years ago, probably in like fucking 2015, 2014. It was a long time ago, and Nakamura was still champion at that point, over probably a decade ago. Because Andrade and Nakamura both came to WWE in 2016. So that would have been a very long time ago. I thought that was cool for Michael Cole to bring up, especially since they don't really work with New Japan. Obviously, that's an AEW collaboration. So they didn't really have to bring that up, but they did. I thought that was cool. Well, they had a good match. Felt weird for Andrade to kind of be the setup guy for Nakamura, but it means more for Nakamura to beat an Andrade than it does to beat fucking Apollo Crews or Giovanni Vinci or whatever. I would have rather that like one of those two people have been Nakamura's first opponent back, but they're really rushing into Nakamura and Knight at the pay-per-view tonight. No rhyme intended there, but Knight did run out afterward and got immediately misted by Nakamura with the black mist, I believe. And each mist color has a different, meaning and a different effect on those that get misted. The black mist I think it's supposed to blind you for a while. So I don't know if they're going to play that up on the pay-per-view tonight. That Nakamura is going to be having vision issues, I'm not sure. I really don't want to see Nakamura win the championship. I think Knight's been having a great run of fighting champion. Could he lose it and then Knight gets it back? Sure. But it's not like Nakamura hasn't held that championship before, and the 2 times he did hold it were completely uneventful runs back in 2018 and 2019, 2020, whenever it was. I have no desire to see him get that belt back. I feel like that'd be a fucking waste. So, anyway, I thought this was a good match at least. It accomplished what it needed to. Before Cody Rhodes came out for his match with Carmelo Hayes, we had this great pre-tape promo with Kevin Owens, and he showed incident by incident his issues with Roman Reigns. Now, their feud obviously goes back a very long time, and he's not going to acknowledge all the stuff that he did to Roman Reigns, mind you, in 2016 and 2017, because they've been feuding on and off for a very long time. Now, we go back to the Bloodline stuff, but Kevin Owens was making life hell for Roman Reigns in late 2016, early 2017 on Raw, when Owens was the Universal Champion, having beaten him a number of times to retain that title on Raw. But the most recent, iteration of their feud started in 2020 with the bloodline with the roles reversed. Roman Reigns as the heel. I mean, that would be cool if Cody Rhodes came back with that and said, listen, you've also done a lot of shit to Roman Reigns, so let's not pretend that Roman Reigns is the only one who has made life miserable for you. But anyway, Roman Reigns has, and Jey Uso as well, on the January 1st, 2020 edition of SmackDown, when they destroyed Owens all around the Thunderdome, and, they beat him up all around the empty arena at that point. He had showed clips of Roman Reigns running him over with a fucking golf cart at the Royal Rumble that same year, a couple of weeks later. They had showed back in 2023 at the Royal Rumble, 3 years or 2 years later at that exact same show, after Roman Reigns had beaten Owens to retain the Universal Championship. Sami Zayn, or the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Sami Zayn and, not Sami, but Roman and the Usos specifically had taken turns beating up on Kevin Owens as he was handcuffed to the ropes. And that was right before Sami had kind of turned on Roman Reigns, but they didn't want to show that, obviously, because it's not pertinent to this story. But that happened, and also really everything that's happened with, Roman Reigns, since then as well. And they didn't talk about, like, the WarGames match that he was involved in with them 2 years ago, how the feud kind of first started back up again in 2020. He kind of hit upon the major moments. But specifically with the Rumble 2013, or the 2023 one, specifically, he had mentioned that Cody Rhodes was in the building for that one. And guess who stepped up to help Roman Reigns in bad blood when he needed it? Cody Rhodes. And Owens, that does not sit well with him. He still kind of holds a grudge against him for that, obviously, which is why this feud is happening. But I thought that was a really well done of kind of relaying the story and why he wants to beat Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes, his bottom line was everything he has coming to him is justified because he's a bad friend and a bad person. And I thought this was very well produced. Got me excited for the match coming up at Saturday night's main event. I am disappointed it's not happening at Survivor Series. Cody Rhodes did not defend his championship at Bad Blood. He was in that tag team match. He did not defend it at Crown Jewel. He faced Gunther in a non-title match. He did not defend it, or he will not be defending it at Survivor Series tonight either. He faced Carmelo Hayes on SmackDown, but he did not, or will not be in action at Survivor Series. They might do a segment with Owens and Rhodes, and that would be cool, because Owens is from Canada, so it does suck for him to not be on that show. But they probably don't want Owens getting cheered because he's supposed to be the heel, and Cody Rhodes is supposed to be the babyface. So I can kind of understand it, and that can be a main attraction for the Saturday night's main event show in a couple of weeks. But we'll see if they have any representation on the pay-per-view tonight. But I thought that promo was great. The Cody Rhodes, Carmelo Hayes non-title match on SmackDown was also really great. I thought they had an even better match than they did on SmackDown back at the draft earlier this year. Carmelo Hayes hasn't won any gold yet, but he has looked very impressive on SmackDown. The match with Cody Rhodes when he first debuted, that strong showing in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, he, I think, got to at least the quarterfinals. He did advance past a certain point in the men's King of the Ring tournament earlier this year as well. He beat Baron Corbin, lost to, I think, fucking Randy Orton. He had a strong showing against Randy Orton at one point. I think he pinned Randy Orton to qualify for Money in the Bank, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was him, Orton, and Tama Tonga, and I think he pinned Orton, if I'm not mistaken. And then he wanted to have that great series of matches with Andrade. He challenged for the United States Championship on a few different occasions. Overall, he's had a pretty good run so far on SmackDown, and I would say he's been looking very impressive. So he looked once again credible in defeat here. This is going to be great if they can revisit this down the road. If Cody Rhodes is still champion or not champion, they can have a full-fledged feud. And it will mean something when Carmelo Hayes eventually does beat Cody Rhodes and get his win back against the now current undisputed WWE champion. But a very fun match here. These two have great chemistry. Would love to see them run it back again down the road when Carmelo Hayes is hopefully an even bigger star on SmackDown and Cody Rhodes remains a main eventer. So very fun stuff here. We had the next match or actually even before that, we'll talk about the sit-down segment, because I think that was what aired before the women's triple threat match. We had the highly anticipated sit-down with Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk. Now, I had seen a picture on Twitter after SmackDown had finished being taped last week of Punk in the ring with Roman, and it kind of looked like they were in the ring talking to each other, but I think that might have just been a picture of Punk coming out in front of the crowd at the end of last week's show, and what happened after, what happened off the air with Punk and Roman kind of going back and forth, not on the mic, but just to each other before they both, did the taunt up in the air with Roman Reigns doing the one and Punk doing the GTS taunt, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was a whole separate segment on this show where they went face-to-face and talked things out on SmackDown. That actually was not the case. They did not reappear in front of the crowd in front of the show. They were subjected or relegated to the back. And I thought this was even far more effective than whatever they could have done in the ring. Now, the crowd atmosphere would have been great, but this reminded me a lot of what they did with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns back in September when they were on the football field and Cody had agreed to, team with Roman Reigns at Bad Blood and they kind of discussed their history and in that building in Georgia, blah, blah, blah. This was a bit more, not underground, but it was more serious. It felt more cinematic. That was cinematic too, with the music and whatnot and the way they kind of made it more dramatic. But this was a sit-down. This was like mafia, mob boss-esque, so to speak, with Heyman kind of mediating the sit-down between Roman and Punk. Punk basically said, I'm agreeing to team with you not because I like you. Roman even said, I don't like you. I don't respect you. I don't like your attitude, blah, blah, blah. Punk said, I don't give a shit. I am doing this not for you, but our wise man. And basically they teased that Heyman, promised Punk a favor that he will cash in on post-Survivor Series. Now, what that favor is, we do not know. Roman Reigns, he doesn't have a favor. Heyman's not doing him a favor. It's Punk was the one because they attacked Heyman back in June. And it was right before that Punk and Heyman had reunited on SmackDown. So it does kind of make sense timing-wise. He didn't want revenge on Solo since then, I guess. But because Heyman said, hey, can you help me out? That's why he's helping him out. I mean, Solo's been on SmackDown since June. And Punk has done nothing about it because he was focused on Drew McIntyre. But at the very least, he is helping out Heyman now. So that's why Punk's in this match. And he's also in this match because he's going to get a favor from Heyman. Now, I'm going to go so far as to assume it's probably a championship match. Because Punk would have challenged for the World Heavyweight Championship earlier this year had he not gotten hurt. Heyman was alongside with him when he was doing that whole 434-day run as WWE Champion back in 2011, 2012, 2013. It was late 2011 through early 2013, but the entirety of 2012 he was champion. So he knows a thing or two about Punk being in title matches and Punk being a champion. He might work out a deal with either Aldis, probably Adam Pearce, to get Punk back in the championship picture. Maybe a match with Gunther at the Royal Rumble. I could honestly very much see that. I could totally see us getting Punk and Gunther at the Royal Rumble. Maybe Punk gets the belt there, and they do Punk and Rollins for the championship at WrestleMania. I don't think that's necessary. We are getting Punk and Rollins at WrestleMania, but I don't think it needs to be for the championship. At this point, I think Gunther can walk into WrestleMania as World Heavyweight Champion, because if you don't do that with Gunther at Mania, I'm not really sure what else you do unless it's a match with fucking Goldberg, and I think he's better than that at this point. I feel like that would not do Gunther any favors to cut his reign short at the Royal Rumble. At this point, I do feel like he should walk into WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion. But they did really a great job of planting the seeds here for this future feud between Punk and Roman Reigns. They got you excited for it, laid the groundwork for it. I don't know when they're going to cash in on this, at some point in 2025, maybe even in 2026 for the road to WrestleMania. Then we know it's not happening anytime soon. But when we do get it, and Punk even said, if you want to revisit this conversation at some point after Survivor Series, after WarGames, be my fucking guest. And I feel like there's a lot of different directions they can go in there, with Heyman specifically turning on Roman to rejoin CM Punk. You can also have Heyman go back with the new bloodline. I just feel like that'd be dumb. Currently, after what they did to him back in June, that would just be awful. But I feel like it would make sense if you had him go with Punk, because he's known Punk longer. And you can get heel Heyman, heel Punk back as rivals for babyface Roman Reigns. That sounds fucking awesome. And that's what I would like to see, but that's not until a lot later down the road. So I thought this was great. This did a great job, as they mentioned, not only getting me excited for a future feud between the two, but also planting the seeds and getting people excited for WarGames on Saturday night as well. Will something happen there? Will the dissension happen there? Will Team OG Bloodline win and then Roman Reigns turns on Punk, or vice versa? I don't know. I don't think so. But you never know what might happen. Last year's Survivor Series closed out on a shocking note with Punk coming back. So again, you never know how they might close out Survivor Series. And then we had the next match in the Women's United States Championship Tournament. We had another quarterfinal triple threat match. On Monday's Raw, they also announced the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So they did not wait long to unveil that championship and introduce that as the mid-card belt for the women on Raw. They did say a tournament will be held to determine the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Champion. They didn't say how, though. I don't know if they're going to do the same thing with triple threat matches on Raw. I don't know if that they need to, but they probably have as many, if not more, women on Raw than they do on SmackDown, so triple threats might make the most sense if they want to go in that direction. But yeah, we had another triple threat match here. It was Michin, Piper Niven, Lash Legend. It was supposed to be Jade Cargill in there before she got taken out last week, so Lash Legend replaced her. So if you were expecting Charlotte Flair or some sort of big name, thankfully they did not do that on a tape show. I guess they did have Rhea Ripley return on a tape show a couple of weeks ago, and that was kind of ruined for a lot of people. So I guess they could have very easily had someone return on a tape show and have it just be spoiled on social media, and then people tune in to watch it. But that was not the case. Thankfully, that was not the case. It was just an average name and someone that we've seen on SmackDown in recent months anyway, in Lash Legend, because she did challenge for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles alongside Jakara Jackson a few different times going into and at Crown Jewel itself. There was that report around that time that the Metaphors, Lash Legend, and Jakara Jackson were considered internally official members of the SmackDown roster, but we haven't seen them on SmackDown since Crown Jewel about a month ago. So I don't know how true that is and if she's here to stay. She did not win here, but I thought she had another impressive outing. She has been pretty impressive on her own, and I will give her credit for that as someone who has not been overly high on her work overall in NXT in the last 2 or 3 years. But I thought she had another good solid showing here. This was the weakest of all the triple threat matches we've gotten so far on SmackDown, but it was well worked. Michin stealing the win after Lash Legend took down Piper Niven. Michin hitting a senton, albeit not directly. It didn't look great. The camera kind of made up for it. Thankfully, the camera angle didn't really make it seem like she missed it, but it looked like she missed it. Anyway, she did win with that, and she is moving on in the Women's United States Championship Tournament. And I thought that was the right outcome. I like Piper Niven. Lash Legend is fine. But Michin, this belt is really for her. She's not going to win the belt off, right out of the gate, I don't think. But she talked about last week on SmackDown Lowdown how she had failed to become, the WWE Women's Champion and all this other sort of stuff. She had failed in her goals to become or it might have been after SmackDown on this show, actually, where it was in a .com exclusive. She had mentioned she failed to become the inaugural NXT Women's North American Champion. She will not fail, and even though she probably will, to become the inaugural Women's United States Champion. And she also lost to Nia Jax in that WWE Women's title match, that street fight, a couple of months ago on SmackDown too. So she's lost a lot of matches. She did beat Chelsea Green in that dumpster match. It would be nice if she won the U.S. Championship. I don't think she will. But, I thought this was a nice way to kind of further her momentum and get her closer to contending for that championship. And then in the main event, Jacob Fatu and Jey Uso in a WarGames Advantage match. I fully expected them to have a phoned-in, basic main event, probably with interference. But Nick Aldis, true to his word, did tell the Bloodline and the OG Bloodline, New Bloodline, whatever, everyone participating in the men's WarGames match at Survivor Series. He told them on the show, you cannot get involved. You are all barred from ringside. And they stayed true to that. No one did get involved. They didn't say that, and they did it anyway. They kind of were sneaky about it. No, Jacob Fatu beat Jey Uso straight up in clean fashion. And the match itself was also really, really good. We have not, like I said earlier, surprisingly seen. This is the first time we have seen Jacob Fatu in a singles match on SmackDown on WWE TV. He has had singles matches and dark matches, house shows, I think, but on TV he has yet to wrestle a singles match until now. And I thought he had a stellar showing. He's looked good in all the other matches he's had so far in WWE. But when the spotlight is solely on him exclusively, and he can really go out there and shine in singles competition, I thought he made the most of that opportunity here and looked great in victory. And Jey Uso also had a really good showing as well. Not to take anything away from Jey Uso, who also looked good in this match. But this, to me, was all about Jacob Fatu and proving that he is as good as people say that he is, including myself. I've been saying for a long time now that he belongs in WWE, and he's proving that right now. So great stuff from these two. Jacob Fatu winning clean to earn, as you would expect, the WarGames advantage for the new Bloodline at WarGames tonight. And that was SmackDown for November 29th, 2024, the Black Friday edition. A far cry from the SmackDowns of 10, 11 years ago when they would have fucking food-eating that was after Survivor Series, but remember the Black Friday SmackDowns, the post-Thanksgiving shows where they would have Titus O'Neil eat all that food and throw up in the ring? Yeah, this was a far cry from that. Even for a tape show, this was still a very good show. Mostly for those two pre-tape segments, the Kevin Owens promo and the sit-down with Heyman, Punk, and Roman. But I thought the main event was really good. The women's triple threat was well worked. Cody and Carmelo was a lot of fun. Nakamura and Andrade was what it was supposed to be, as was the opening segment, and kind of hyping up the women's WarGames for tonight as well. So, good stuff from SmackDown, I thought. 2 thumbs up for this show. We'll see if they can kind of keep the momentum rolling, and I expect they should and will I'm heading into Saturday night's main event in a couple of weeks, which I'm hoping to be at. We'll see, because it's in the Northeast. Also, as we head into the final few weeks of the year in 2024 on SmackDown. So thank you guys for checking out my SmackDown review before Survivor Series tonight, or after. Either one works. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Enjoy Survivor Series War Games tonight, folks. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.